I'm happy to be here today and speak on behalf of what Blue has done for us and helped us and took us from a 1980s department just a year and a half ago into a company that now can function in the 2000s thanks to some technology and process. So I've been with USG for 12 years, head up the marketing, communications, and packaging within the organization. Have been a business to marketer my whole career. Exciting things like automotive gaskets, air freight, and now building products. So we'll get into this. So today, unlike baby food and organic other things and Pepsi, we're building materials. So what I'm going to talk to you today, I'll give you a couple things. Many of you may not know of USG or who we are, what we do. Thought it was just give you some insights to that. I'll talk to you a little bit about the marketing department, the opportunity that we had in front of us as an organization, give you some insights into our packaging department and the lack of a process that we had, process improvement that we went through, and then I'll give you a peek into our packaging, so it's real exciting. Okay, so about USG. I'll give you a little bit. Danielle said it's United States Gypsum Company, as many of you may know us if you do, but contractors, architects, distributors, building products, supply yards, the Home Depot, Lowe's, Menards in this area know USG very well. We're a leader in the category and we don't take that lightly. So I'll ask the question, does anybody know the term or name sheetrock? Raise your hand. Okay, good, a few. Is sheetrock a Kleenex or is it something else? It's a brand, and it's USG's brand. And we're happy to celebrate the 100th year of the invention of sheetrock later this year. So it's been around for a long time. Thank you. Okay, so just a little bit about USG. We're a 114-year-old company based in Chicago, traded on the New York Stock Exchange. Sales are just about $4 billion. And we have a very diverse footprint throughout the United States. We have 75 different manufacturing facilities and presence in 20 countries. We're divided into 4 different business units within the organization. Our gypsum company, our ceilings business, and when Danielle sent me a picture of what this room looked like in the ceiling, I was talking to her about acoustics, and I said, it's gonna be a little bit of a problem, but it's not as bad as here as where we ate. So the sound was a little challenging in there, because it's a hard surface, sound is bouncing off of it. We have our distribution. We own 140 of our own distribution yards or building material supply yards in the United States. And we have a joint venture in Asia and Australasia and in the Middle East. And everything that we have done in the States, they follow. So we're using Blue software, they're using Blue software, so we're keeping it in-house. So just a little bit about at home. The wallboard and products that are used to hide the seams of the wallboard, 1 in 3 homes would be installed with USG's product. So we're just about everywhere, and for our Latin American friends, there's a term, tabla roca, is the way they translate sheetrock. So we manufacture in Mexico the tabla roca brand. And in a commercial environment, we go beyond the wallboard and the joint treatment. So here we can do acoustical sealing, so it would have been lovely to have an acoustical sealing. I'm hearing an echo, I don't know if you are, but I'm hearing an echo. It's not a good sign. So we do the commercial ceilings and suspension systems, and then we have products that protect the exterior of the building and also the roof. So we have a saying at USG, we make the products where people live, work, and play, and everywhere in between. So we've got you covered. So I'll give you some insights into the marketing organization from a B2B perspective. So a lot of times in the consumer goods you see, in CPG, you see things different. But in the marketing organization for a $4 billion company, we're pretty small, but we're very, very scrappy. So we have our field marketing people who take the larger marketing programs we create and they localize them. We have the digital team in the center. Lisa's back there. I'm going to talk about her later. They keep all of our .com assets, our apps, and other digital assets in order and protected. And on the right-hand side of the house is the marketing communication organization, with 7 people, and then the packaging department as well. And that's, I'll talk a little bit more about that. But a group of 19, and so we get a lot done with a very small team and an outsourced environment, and also some money. Okay, move on. So the packaging department. So this is where it gets a little interesting. Recently, we had a packaging manager who was a PE degreed packaging manager, 38 years with the company, only worked for USG his whole career, and recently retired last December. And he had, for 7 years, 2 contract employees that he worked with. They weren't employees of the company, but they were full-time dedicated contract employees. And they processed about 200 to 250 packages a year without a process, I will say. Kind of as things came in, they took care of them. And of those 200 to 250, 20% were new, and maybe in the rest of them were 80% were revisions, and the revisions kind of came from anywhere. So what you're seeing on the bottom left is what our packaging up until last year looked like. And the question that I always asked is, how long does it take to get a package made? Or people would ask that, and we could never answer the question. Well, it depends. Depends on how much information I have. It takes how long for people to approve things. If that job bag sits on someone's desk who's on vacation for 2 weeks, that delays things. So the good news and the bad news is we didn't get a lot of complaints because people just accepted it, but it really wasn't acceptable to us as an organization. On the Marcom side of the house, so I said we have a team of 7 that report up into me. And they're responsible for 8 different product lines within the company. So those things I rattled off in the home and at work, each of them is aligned with the business unit. And then they're also aligned with the product management team within the business unit. Plus then they're very closely aligned with the packaging group to make sure that, again, that we have that integration within the department. So here's where the opportunity gets a little interesting. In 2013, we launched a new brand. And part of the reason for the new brand was we had become a little complacent and a little difficult to deal with from the customer's perspective. There was a little bit of arrogance. We're the industry leader. We were known for our innovation. We changed a lot of things in the industry, and a lot of people looked to us to see what we were doing first before they did something. So the organization recognized it from the top of the house, and he said, we've got to change things. So it was a renewed commitment in service and technology, in innovation and sustainability, kind of the key tenets that our customers look to us mostly for. So we did that, and then the new logo and the new identity came with it, and we came up with a tagline, "It's your world, build it," so anybody could relate to that. Someone who builds something could relate to that. Part of that was we did a sponsorship with the United States Olympic Committee, the Canadian Olympic Committee, and the Mexican Olympic Committee. So we wanted to use that worldwide platform to help elevate the brand that USG offers, regardless of the continent. We had on the packaging side some pending regulation. So this was, I'm saying it's not a challenge, but it was an opportunity for us. So we had this packaging change that was in 2013, it was brought to the forefront. We're going to need to start preparing for this and planning for this, but what did it mean? So it involved hazardous warnings and language that went onto our packaging. And we had to identify what these warnings were, what they meant, how they had to be prepared, how they had to be presented, kind of plan for the work internally and externally. So we needed external help, and we also needed internal help, and we were kind of scrambling, how were we going to get this done? And then to add a challenge, in 2013, the company was just coming out of many, many years of financial losses because of the recession. So we were affected in big time there was no building. So people weren't building houses, you certainly weren't building buildings where people were working. So we were greatly affected by that. So funding was going to be an issue, but we still had to plan how we were going to go forward with this. So a little scary chart up there with 9 different symbols. So OSHA put out this regulation, and this was supposed to be a global recognition, a global system, and it's GHS. So GHS stands for Globally Harmonized System of Classification and Labeling of Hazardous Materials. So essentially it's for worker health and safety, to make sure that an employee is aware of the potential hazards of working with certain chemicals. And we're lucky to say only 3 of ours were of these symbols we had to use. They are a little scary, but if you use the product correctly, you won't have an issue. So someone is sanding and they're not using a ventilator all day, if they're not using proper equipment, yeah, you're gonna be breathing in some of that silica dust, and that could be dangerous to you. But used properly, there isn't an issue. So this is what we had. So this GHS thing was ahead of us. We had to figure out what to do about it and how this is going to impact us. And the one thing that was interesting about this, so those of you in regulated industries, we're not regulated per se, but we have to abide by the rules of OSHA, is various manufacturers would report out what their chemicals were differently. And so not everybody was doing the same thing. So one product might look a little less dangerous than something else or hazardous. So this put everybody on a level playing field. The other thing is we did these material safety data sheets. They got converted to a safety data sheet. So this is something that our distributors have to have and we have to post to our website. So in this preparation for what this pending change was, we had more than 1,000 safety data sheets that had to be created from the old material safety data sheet. Then we had to get them translated into French and Spanish as well and get them posted to our website. This is what guided us on what went on to each of the packages. So you can imagine it was a lot of work, and we didn't have a process to help us manage this workflow. So we had to do all of this in about 9 months. And it was 800 packages total that were being affected of various sizes. So we knew the sort of the requirements of how we were going to label and what we were going to do, but we had a challenge also. We just didn't have the team put together for the folks that would make this happen. So what we did is we put out an RFP and we selected SGK's brand image to do the overall strategic design direction for our product line. And what they did is they worked and they developed, I think it was approximately 50 SKUs. We called them the lead SKUs, which then led to adaptation of various forms and sizes for the remainder of the packages. And we tested that in the US, Canada, and Mexico with contractors of the various flavors of contractors. Does the packaging resonate? Does it mean anything to you? And it did, so we were very happy with that. And then we turned to Anthem in Toronto to do the adaptation. We also worked with Shock. So everything was good from that end. It worked well. The process was good. And my last bullet point on here, if you can see, is the C-suite all of a sudden had a lot of attention on this because we had this deadline that we had to meet, which was June 1st, 2015. We started late because we just didn't get approval for budget to go forward with this. So we were worried about making the deadline, and then the next thing was, how much packaging are we going to write off from obsolete material that is in the plants and will never get used? So we were working toward that. Good news is we met the number that we had to achieve, some miraculously, but we did that. Okay, so the packaging department. So this should be interesting to many of you in a similar situation, or not, and you can say, phew, glad we're not part of that. So the packaging department, again, we didn't really have a process, and someone tried to map out the process. So they had these very intelligent people come and talk to the folks and the contract folks and the manager of the packaging department, map out this process. Well, it was like a bowl of spaghetti. It started here, did a whole bunch of squiggles and backs and forths, and it was really hard to say, I don't really understand it. And I think we were hiding some things at that point as well, the inefficiencies of the department. And, it works. That's the way I always do it. And for the most part, packages went out. Did they go out late? Yes. Did they go out over budget? Yes. No one seemed to complain, but it was more complacency within the organization. It's a small team. It's Steve. That's the way he does it. Let's just accept that. And for the most part, I got a couple people in the back that will be laughing at that, but that's really the way it worked. But we knew that it wasn't sustainable, especially to try to get these packages done in time. So typically, the way we worked was someone would call Steve and say to him, I need a package change. Now this could have come from a product manager, it could have come from legal, it could have come from trademarks, someone that formulates something and says, I need a package change. Okay, well we would just start the project. He'd make a call to the contract employee and content manager and say, here's what I know, here's who you should call, start working on it. Just run and go do it. Well, we had a lot of circular things that took place here. New information always surfaced. We'd put things in layout, it would be translated, and changes would come. Okay, make the changes, translate it again, lay it out again. That happened a lot, and we saw that over and over and over again. I got someone in the back nodding her head. So we would go through these multiple changes. We'd even get to the time you'd see the final proof, hard proof, and it's like, okay, there's something that has to be changed. And we would do that, and that was not a unique occurrence. It happened a lot. So we knew, again, something had to change, but the problem was the packaging manager was the de facto owner of the product, or the package, instead of a product manager in our world here. So what happened is, so we had on the left, we had the packaging manager and his 2 contract employees. He retired in December after 38 years, as I said, and so we didn't replace him, but what we did is we brought a project manager and an extra production manager, so we had 2, and we have the content person. So we were able to move through these 800 packages with this team, and I've got one of my key people back there today. So what we did is we went, and part of the working with SGK, they presented us with the off-the-shelf Blue software, so it was the Blue X version where we started, and it tremendously helped us. So it took us from a job bag environment, which you'll see on the left, and we went to an online routing. So we were able to route things and create things that worked well, better than what we were doing. Let me just say it worked far better than what we were doing today, and it kept us on task to accomplish what we needed to. There was some initial resistance. People are like, you're making me do what? And I'm getting all these emails, and why am I getting these emails? And after the initial startup, things started to go really well. And it was interesting because the light bulbs went off with people, and I thought, oh, this is far better than what we were doing before. So they started asking for more. And while we had this online tool, and while we were using the Blue X, it's still a little inefficient for, as we had the growing pains of it. So we started to use it. We started to really utilize it well, and what else can you do with it? And, job tracking was still manual, so we've got an Excel sheet that we were tracking jobs in. Poor Jody every week had to gather the data because we'd have a weekly status meeting and wanted to know where things were. But what with the reporting, people start talking about metrics. We were looking for more things like that. Could we understand how long things are taking? And then the alerts and reminders were manual with this. So typically, someone is late, it's holding up a package, they're telling us, hey, we need to get going. It was really hard to keep people on task. All right, I'm getting the 5-minute cue, so I'm gonna try to go quick. So on the process improvement side, we worked with SGK's continuous improvement team, and our folks were a little concerned. They're like, you're gonna push a best practice that may not work for us. So we said, okay, we brought in our internal Lean Six Sigma team to kind of balance the two. So we came out with a process. It took more than 6 months to get there of work, but we did get a process. From there, we built configurations, and we're using the Blue Enterprise, which is now truly helping us, that we just launched that in February, mid-February of this year. And something that we did is that we hadn't done before is we put together, we called it an artwork initiation form. And this is what give us all the information as much as you can up front. You may not have every single bit, but it was more than we had ever asked for before. Sometimes we start a job, we didn't even know what the product name was. Or what size container it was going to go in. So now we were asking for a lot more information up front. We put the tags in it as well. So once it's fed into Blue, those tags are going all the way through the system. And eventually, so we got it into 5 steps, we got the process into 5 steps, as you see here. And then we'll be utilizing the digital asset library as well within Blue. And one thing that I'll tell you, a couple things that happened is, so each phase had some time frames to it, so something was supposed to occur within these time frames. And we had a lot of people nervous about this. They're like, I'm going to be late. I'm seeing something late. Well, if the people before you are late, you're going to be late as well. So it was kind of nice that they were starting to pay attention to timelines. Like, we're saying a package should get done in this time frame. Let's all work together and get it done. So the good news is they're paying attention to it. But a lot of times we know things happen. You can't always get it done the way you want. So we put in their tasks as they see it. The beauty of this version is now they can go to one page and see all my tasks, everything that I have to do. And you can tell when something's late or something's urgent. A lot of phone calls take place and things outside of Blue, but that box ever present is what's late and what's on my task list that I have to do. So the one thing that I would say what Blue helped us do is it created this process from beginning to end. So we have this end-to-end process. And now that we'll start to use soon, the digital asset library will truly help us have everything in one place where things are kind of a little bit all over the place. And the fact that the product management team asked us, can we use this for our collateral? So any data sheet, any brochure or something like that where we would typically route in email, let's put it through Blue. So we're creating a separate workflow in Blue to do this as well. And our agency is very excited because they'll be a part of this process, so they'll see a lot more efficiencies as well. Okay, so on the packaging design, this is a family shot of all the things that SGK did for us with the brand image team. So they gave us a cohesive design is what we asked for. They took it as a family approach, so there's a lot of consistencies in it. And on the left-hand side was our old package, And if I was to ask you, anybody in this room, what's the name of the product? You might say sheetrock, you might say joint compound, you might say all-purpose. So we wanted to address that when we did the design of the new package. So on the right-hand side, you'll see that we have the USG, what we refer to as the building blocks, and the red band for the sheetrock, which carries on each of the different product lines the brand name, the family name. And then we brought the name of the product front and center very large, and you have the translations right below it. And then the ever-present design is the building blocks, which are in the bottom right. So we kept that consistent. So as we rolled it, I'll get this one. For those of you with a lot of content in your packages with warnings and everything else and cautions, the top one is our new, and the bottom was the old. We took about a 30% reduction in copy here, and Brand Image did an outstanding job in putting it into steps, so it was very easy to digest. And we have to keep the baby warning there because packages over a certain size have to have that baby warning in their caution. So the instructions are the 1, 2, 3, 4. The warnings are in the red copy, and then instructions mixing how much water to add would be in the right. So it was a cleaner design. It's still a lot of copy, but if you took the translations out of there, it would be less, but it's still a lot of copy. So onto the shelves at Home Depot and other stores off the production line, things start to look good. And then I'll tell you, we went through a lot of steps to make sure that we communicated well, because the contractors are very stuck in their ways on the products that they use, and the minute you change a package, they said, you changed the formula. So we went through great pains to say, it's just a package change. It's just that's all we did. And what we also had to communicate to our distributors and channel partners was, there's some compliance dates we have to meet and you have to meet. So it was June 1st, we couldn't ship anything that didn't have the new warnings or symbols, and then distribution couldn't sell that after December 1st, 2015. So we met our date of June 1st, 2015. We congratulated ourselves, we all did it, and then OSHA extended it a year that day. So the day we did it. But we made our deadline. And then kind of the what's next. So again, the software is truly helping us. It's creating our collateral workflow. It's helping us. We'll get the DAL up and running as well. We did ask, you were talking earlier about configurations and customizations. We were using this homegrown tool on the last legs just to create form numbers for our packages and our literature as well. So we have the blue team working on, yes you are, you're working on that, thank you. Working on a form number generator for us. They had one, but we needed it to be specific to how we label things. So we're real excited that from the process to the tool itself to what it did for us and where we are. Again, we went from that 1980s department to a 2000 company that's utilizing technology and utilizing it in the right way. So we're excited about this, and I thank you for the attention and staying awake after lunch, and look forward to hearing more from you guys all this afternoon.